filed petitions disputing the declared presidential results and a preliminary objection to Moses Kuria's petition as they deliberate on a petition filed by Ruben Kigame on the same. In their petition filed on Monday, they seek for the Supreme Court to invalidate the presidential results declared on the 15th of August and order for retallying of votes cast. Sarafina, if you can hear me, kindly bring us to speed.
Indeed, a very good afternoon, Jackie. We're coming to you live from the Supreme Court Sub-Registry that is at the Milimani Law Courts, where the Supreme Court has been set up. And now we're just following up to get to understand on how the whole process is going on, given that they had been given, or they are given 7 days from the day when the results were declared to file the petition, and they got to file the petition. And now what we've gotten to say is that a day ago they were able to bring some of the evidence that they had, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission was able to bring the evidence that they had requested so that they could be given within 48 hours that they'll use in the petition that they got to file. Therefore, also as of today, when we got here, we got to see that they had also brought more submissions in regard to the petition that they had filed. And in the submissions, they agree with about 7 of the petitions that have been filed, given that so far 9 petitions have been filed. So they agree with about 7 of the petitions that have been filed, and have also filed a preliminary objection in regards to the petition. And the preliminary objection is in regards to a petition filed by Moses Kuria. And I'm going to be joined by one of my colleagues here to just get to understand the preliminary objection that has been filed today. And yes, Moha?
Sarafina, it is true that the Azimio La Umoja has filed a petition, a preliminary objection, seeking to have the petition filed by Moses Kuria to be dismissed. They argue the petition filed by Kuria does not challenge the validity of a presidential election and should be struck out. The said application is going to be heard next week on Monday, most probably. Yes, Sarafina.
Okay. So that is one of my colleagues, who is Mohammed Abdikhair, who has just been going through the preliminary objection that has been filed by Azimio La Umoja in regards to a petition filed by Moses Kuria, whereby Moses Kuria was disputing the petition filed by Azimio La Umoja, and now whereby he was saying that now the Azimio La Umoja say that the petition by Moses Kuria, the Supreme Court lacks the jurisdiction to get to hear that petition, since the Supreme Court is only supposed to listen or to hear petitions filed in regards to presidential election results. Thereafter, also been able to go through the submissions that they have been able to bring at this particular place, and they continue to agree with the other petitions, saying that they should invalidate and they seek for a retallying of the vote and any other decision.
Well, we do apologize. We seem to be experiencing some technical hitch there. And remember, that was Sarafina Robi updating us on the Azimio La Umoja presidential candidate Raila Odinga and his running mate Martha Karua, who have filed a condensed form of their submissions supporting 5 other filed petitions disputing the declared presidential results. And now we shall be moving on to the Parliament buildings, where it is day 2, where members-elect of the National Assembly are being rather familiarized with operations of Parliament ahead of the first sitting. And our reporter O'Brien Kimani is on the grounds to give us more details. O'Brien?
Well, asante sana, Jacqueline. Wambiru back in Broadcasting House. It is day 2 of the orientation of members of Parliament elect, an exercise that started yesterday, where so far 223 members of Parliament have been oriented, and this process is coming to a close today, with Parliament expecting that all the 333 members of Parliament who have been elected will have been oriented and presented with the credentials to allow them to access the National Assembly, and of course to now set in motion the process of starting now the official programs. Well, this is what we've been keeping tabs here, and now I'm joined by Kiambaa Member of Parliament, Njuguna Wanjiku. This is not his first time here. Remember, he was elected in 2021. And he's about to give us his view on this whole process, plus also give us a brief of his expectation once the 13th Parliament is reconstituted. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. I mean, this is the first time this exercise is happening. What do you think of it?
I think the exercise is very smooth and efficient because I think the Parliamentary Service Commission, they are well organized because majority of especially the first timers, they have made it easy for them to be able to register all those services. Like for example, last year when I came in, I had to look for my own way out. Mm-hmm. You had to go to the National Hospital Insurance Fund. You had to go to the Parliament to look for card. I had to do it on my own. But this time, this particular time, it's very easy because you just need to visit one station after the other, mm-hmm. and you are all sorted as according to the Parliamentary Service Commission. It was well organized. We thank God for giving also another opportunity to serve the people of Kiambaa, a 5-year term, which was I was elected last year, 2021. Yeah. So I've been able to serve the people of Kiambaa only for 1 year term. Yeah. 1 year. So I'm promising them, and they were able to elect me again in 2022, and I really appreciate, for the support.
Mm-hmm. So when you're talking to your colleagues, and especially, those who have been elected for the first time, what are their sentiments? What kind of sentiments are they expressing about this whole process?
Yeah, they are also okay because I think they have found it very easy for them to be able to register. Some of those processes are a bit tedious. Depending if you're a first timer, you need someone who knows, where to visit and where to go. But when they have already congregated, brought all the services together, it is becoming so easier for the first timers to be able to access these services. They have been able to be provided with cards. They have been shown all over the Parliament, the toilets, what you need to do. If you want to contribute to a debate or to a certain motion, the orientation is quite okay. They are quite happy. They are happy because it started yesterday and they're ending it today. So they are comfortable with the whole process. And I think for them, it is even to their advantage because they've been able to do all this within 1 day. Mm-hmm. For us, I think it took me for like 2 months before I was able to access the whole process of Parliament.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You say you came into this house last year and you have only served for 1 year. Now you've been given a fresh mandate of 5 years. We're expecting that very soon the 13th Parliament will be gazetted so that the business of the House can now kickstart. What are you looking forward for once the House is constituted?
I think it will be a very busy house for the 13th Parliament because depending on the numbers, we have the majority in the Kenya Kwanza. So the first business of the day is to elect the Speaker, which will be very intensive.
I don't think at this point you can say that you have the majority because, Parliament it still has the final authority and the final authority in deciding who has the numbers because they have, first of all, to consult with the registrar of political parties.
But you see, at the end of the day, we know our numbers. Mm-hmm. It's about numbers. Elections is about the numbers. Mm-hmm. If you have the numbers, you have the numbers. If you don't have the numbers, you don't have the numbers. And it will be evident in the floor of the House. When that time comes, we will wait for the moment. We'll wait for the moment to come.
After that has been settled.
We elect the Speaker, and then we start the business of the day, whereby us as a Kenya Kwanza, we have a lot to offer. We have a lot to legislate, especially when it comes to the Hustlers Fund. We cannot be comfortable again. We have no luxury of time. We have a lot of registrations to do. We'll constitute also our parliamentary groupings so that at least now we can start forming, the committees and what we are supposed to do to make sure at the end of the day we have been able to legislate laws that will help to enhance and also to bring the livelihood down in terms of cost of living, in terms of the Hustlers Fund, we have a lot to offer for the 13th Parliament.
Very good. And well, this is a desire and a hope of Kenyans that, once you go into this house, regardless of whatever party you are elected on, all of you are going to join hands and help come up with the legislations that will push the country forward. Njuguna, thank you very much indeed for finding time to be with us, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. And God bless you. We are hoping to have a wonderful time of the 13th Parliament, and we are trusting God for everything.
It's going to work out.
It's going to work out.
Enjoy your afternoon.
You too.
Very good.
All right.
George Njuguna is the Member of Parliament for Kiamba, joining us here, of course, to give us his opinion on what they expect going forward. There's also another new Member of Parliament who has just joined me. Kindly tell me, who is this?
This is John Kagusha, Member of Parliament for Mukurweini in Nyeri County, and also the former Speaker of Nyeri County.
This is your first time, to come to the National Assembly, and of course you've gone through the orientation process. What do you make of it?
No, well, it's a good process, what I've gone through, but once again, it's not very different from what we have had in the County Assembly. I've seen the rules.
Well, that is our reporter, Brian Kiamani, at the Parliament buildings, where it is day 2 of the induction of members-elect of the National Assembly. We shall be keeping you updated as we progress. For now, we move on to Machakos, where family, friends and colleagues have gathered to pay their last respects to fallen returning officer of Embakasi East, Daniel Musyoka, in Moani Village, Muteni Ward in Machakos. And remember, Musyoka went missing on August 11th, and his body was found 4 days later in Loitoktok, Kajiado County. Our reporter Fred Moki has more details.
Reverend Maina Paul atatufungulia kwa maombi.
A very good afternoon to you, Jackie Wambiru, and welcome to this live broadcast. We're coming to you live from Mumani Village in Mutadani Ward, Mwala Sub-County, Machakos County. And indeed, brief as I encountered this area, remember it's just the burial ceremony of the late IBC Embakasi East returning officer Daniel Musyoka, who was murdered, and his body was found in Loitoktok, Kajiado County on 15th of August this month, just a few days after the culmination of the August 9th general election. And of course, the IBC chairperson, Wafula Chebukati, is leading a congregation here together with some of the IBC commissioners, family, relatives, and friends from all over different parts of the county are converting this place and to lay to rest one of the returning officers. Remember, it has been a concern of the security of IBC commissioners after mysterious deaths of various officials from different countries. And well, of course, today IBC chairperson is here to mourn with the family, friends, relatives of the late Daniel Musyoka, who died while in the line of duty just a few days after the culmination of the August 9th general elections. Everyone is eagerly waiting to hear maybe what the IBC chairperson is going to say or to address this congregation here today, because there have been calls of enhancement of security for IBC officials every now and then. It is becoming quite a concern for everyone and commissioners, and we'll just be waiting to see what the IBC chairperson and the IBC commissioners will have to say concerning the security of IBC officials. Daniel Musyoka was reported to have been murdered a few days after the culmination of the general elections. And of course, this Mumani village is in Mudheni Ward, Mwala Sub-County of Machakos County. We were expecting the governor of Machakos County, Obenyadeti, to bless this burial celebration, but of course we have a representative, that is the deputy governor, that is Francis Mwangangi, who made his entrance into this area. And of course, right now is a service that is ongoing. Religious leaders drawn from different parts of the country are also converged here for this special occasion. And remember, all Kenyans are crying. They are crying the security of IBC officials and clerks, because it has been a concern. Of course, we'll just keep you posted about what will be happening. It is a service that commences very early today in the morning with a procession from Montezuma Funeral Home farm in Machakos County before they found their way through Masii Town and Machakos Town to this particular place. This is Mumani village of Mala sub-county. And of course, different leaders will also be expected to grace this area. And right now, it's just a service by some of the choir members drawn from different parts of religious events. And the IBC chairperson, Wafulati Bukati, made his way to the podium, and we'll be expecting to hear a lot from him. We will be discussing about the security of IBC officials. Remember, this is not the first time that such a situation or a case has been happening, and it raises concern because many Kenyans are concerned about their security. And right now, we'll get you back to you. We'll keep you posted about what will be happening later in the day. Back to you.
Well, that is our reporter Fred Moke with an update from Machakos, where the fallen returning officer of IEBC who was manning the Embakasi East Constituency Tallying Center was murdered. Was found dead in Loitoktok, Kajiado County. Now, the burial ceremony, remember, among those in attendance are IEBC Chair Wafula Chebukati. Now, in other news, moving on, the new Wajir County administration is warning fake contractors that they will face the law. Speaking on his first day in office, the new area Governor Ahmed Abdullahi says it was worrying that the county has pending bills amounting to billions of shillings, some which are questionable.
Abdullahi says he will establish a technical committee to verify all projects done in the 6 sub-counties to ascertain that locals got value for their taxes. The governor warning that he will only sanction payments of genuine contractors who have done quality work for the county.
We'll use corroborative evidence, we'll talk to people, we'll interview the staff, we will get auditors in here to look at all those figures and to look at the documentation, right? Because government procurement process has a lot of legal steps, and it's procedural, and the inbuilt controls, right? So we'll have to look at all that to see how much of it is legitimate.
Abdullahi warning that an audit of all employees will be done, and those who have been doubling up as county employees and working for NGOs in Somalia will face the sack.
So waiting to get the report to be submitted by the Assumption of Office Committee, and then we subject that to an audit process, to investigative measures to see how much of that is legitimate.
The new governor promising to end corruption, saying it has derailed service delivery. Samuel Karaoke for Lunchtime News. Now, in other news, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance presidential candidate Raila Odinga has denied threatening the courts over the presidential election petition at the Supreme Court of Kenya. Raila, who spoke at Ugenya Masiro, home of the newly elected Siaya Governor James Orengo, said the Azimio team is confident evidence produced before the Apex Court is enough to overturn the declaration of William Ruto as the winner in the August 9th general election.
Mimi sijatesha mahakama. Nilisema tu yale ambayo tumeomba katika petition yetu. Kama tunataka mahakama ikiona ukweli ambayo tutaonyesha ya kwamba tulishinda, ikubali kututeua sisi kama sisi washindi.
Moving on, residents of Tana River County have been assured of robust service delivery by the newly elected governor who took the oath of office yesterday. Governor Dado Godana assured residents that he will implement a performance management system that will see them get services swiftly.
Speaking during his swearing-in, Tana River Governor Dado Godana promised to work closely with the national government and stakeholders to achieve his goals of developing the county by attracting investors.
We will continue to engage the national government and our partners, including investors, both local and foreign, to support our county development agenda. This will go a long way in reclaiming public confidence in the force and ensure that they are accountable and they operate within the confines of the law.
Former Gansen Member of Parliament Danson Buya Mungatana, who made a comeback to politics as the county's new senator, said that he will push for legislation that will not only help Tana River County but all counties in Kenya to strengthen devolution.
Sisi viongozi tunataka tuwahakikishie wananchi wa kaunti hii ya kwamba tutashikana pamoja tuwapatie service delivery vile inavyohitajika wananchi watataka.
In Kilifi, the newly elected Governor Gideon Mung'aro officially took over the instrument of power from his predecessor, Amason Kingi, promising to fulfill his pre-election pledges.
Tumekubaliana ya kuwa county inafanya miradi ya elimu za shule za chekechea, lakini tutaboresha miundo misingi ya shule hizo na tushirikiane na viongozi wengine wa bunge la kitaifa, hata kama bado wana changamoto ya zile fedha za huduma ya maendeleo ya eneo za ubunge.
Mung'aro was sworn in alongside his deputy Flora Mbetsa, who promised to support her boss to ensure they fulfill their agenda. In Lamu County, Issa Timami made a comeback as the governor and stated that he will prioritize the health sector for improvements in the next 3 months.
Maendeleo ni haki ya kila mwananchi, yule aliyetupigia kura na yule ambaye hakutupigia kura.
Addressing the public after his swearing in Mkunguni area in Lamu, Timami assured the people that his government will also revive the tourism sector and improve the social amenities to attract investment.
Njia moja kuboresha uchumi ni kuhakikisha wageni wengi wanakuja hapa, mahoteli yetu yapate biashara, wenye maboti wapate biashara, mama mboga wapate biashara, wenye maduka wapate biashara.
He also promised to cooperate with all citizens and the elected leaders in the county without considering political parties in order to bring development to the people of Lamu. Reporting for Lunchtime News, I am Elvis Otieno.
Still in the same, a section of leaders from different parts of the country are optimistic the new county leadership will unite the people and work together, propelling the devolved units towards development. The leaders called upon new governors to deliver on their election pledges and work together despite their political affiliations.
Ni wakati sasa wa governor kuweka kila kitu kina wakati wake. Wakati wa siasa una mirengo. Na wakati wa baada ya uchaguzi watu wamerudi pamoja. Hakuna cha mirengo. Susan Kihika, ukiwa mama na kiongozi, walete watu wa Nakuru pamoja. Wote wawe chini yako na uwafanyie kazi bila kujali rangi, dini, vyama vyao na mirengo.
Tuko tayari kufanya kazi na wewe pamba tu pamba. Ile miaka yako 10, we will make sure that utakuwa na hiyo nafasi uweze kutekeleza manifesto yako.
Hiyo hustler fund ikifika Nakuru, it must be administrated upon in an equitable fashion, notwithstanding where the people voted. Let us support the Kenyan population. Elections are over. We build the nation of Kenya. We build the people of Kenya.
Kila jambo ambalo tunalifanya katika idara yoyote lazima hatima yake iwe ni kumhudumia mfanyikazi ambaye ama Wanjiku ama yule mpiga kura.
To assure the people of Kenya we are going to work together, support our governor so that we are able to deliver.
We will be there to midwife this process until you finally settle so that we can give proper services to the people of Kilifi County.
And on matters education, the government has no intention of increasing the education capitation allocation, which currently stands at 25.9% of the country's budget. Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha is calling for prudent use of available funds, saying the budget is constrained until the new government finds means of raising more funds.
Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha was in Kisii County launching Phase 2 of the competency-based curriculum classrooms at the Senior Chief Musa Nyandusi Mixed Secondary School in Kageti Ward, Kisii Central Sub-County.
My instructions are very clear from His Excellency the President, are very clear that we ensure that there is prudent use of the money that we are given.
Magoha urged contractors of CBC classrooms in the area to fast-track completion of the infrastructure as they were lagging behind other counties, some of which are at 100% completion.
Can we just have a children's political party where we agree that we shall complete the buildings, that by the time we leave, the 10,000 classrooms are there?
The Cabinet Secretary faulted those criticizing the Ministry of retaining textbook funds, confirming the government was providing the books to learners on a ratio of 1:1.
I also hear a little bit of noise that we are retaining textbook money. Of course we are retaining textbook money because we are providing textbooks at the ratio of 1:1. What people should be asking us is, are books in schools?
Magoha had earlier visited Tambacha COD Day and Boarding Mixed Secondary School in Mirani Sub-County, where he commissioned 2 CBC classrooms and gave 20 computers to the school. For Lunchtime News, I'm Cheryl Abade.
Still on matters regarding education, learning was paralyzed at Makohokoho Primary School in Gatundu North, Kiambu County after irate parents stormed the school, accusing the school head of mismanagement and embezzlement of funds. They are demanding explanation from the school head on the running of the school. Well, we shall be bringing you that report once we resume from this short break.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723 892 654 or 0734 780 124.
Karibuni sana to the Second Chance TV game show.
Tough questions.
Virunga National Park is located within which mountain ranges?
Aberdare.
Aberdare? Is that your final answer?
Tough challenges.
3, 2, 1,
It's a survival for the smartest.
10 seconds to go. Who is the current president of Malawi?
Jakaya Kikwete.
Wrong answer. That is the wrong answer. Does it border to the east? Nakuru County. Nakuru County, you get 2,000 bob.
Premiering soon on Channel 1.
For the past 2 weeks, the athletes of Major League Wrestling and the luchadors of AAA have competed in heavy-hitting fights. Oh my God! High-flying encounters, bloody brawls, Ortiz coming out, and title fights. As we enter week 3 of the historic first-ever Super Series, both leagues are tied at 2 wins apiece. The unstoppable Jacob Fatu of Contra. Who the hell is going to pry the championship away from the Samoan Smashing Machine?
Welcome back. Now, learning was paralyzed at Makohokoho Primary School in Gatundu North, Kiambu County after irate parents stormed the school, accusing the school head of mismanagement and embezzlement of funds. They are demanding explanation from the school head on his running of the school.
Armed
with twigs and placards painted with anti-school head writings, the angry parents brought learning at Makohokoho Primary School in Gatundu North, Kiambu County to a standstill. They allege that the school head blatantly misused funds generated from sale of the school's tea leaves and trees and misappropriated development funds.
Tuko na majani chai yenye inalipwa inaigisaga elfu kama 500 na akiulizwa hii mambo ya pesa ya majani hatakagi kuulizwa hata swali moja. Akiulizwa mahesabu aonyeshe wasasi anakataa kuonyesha wasasi hesabu ya chai.
They also lamented over the school's poor performance in national examinations and the administration's disregard of suggestions on development projects to improve the school.
Ile kitu tukitaka kuomba hii mtihani yenye tunafanya watoto wanafanya ya class 6 hata wa class 8 hakuna kushika watashika juu hakuna kitu wamesoma. Huyu mwalimu asubuhi kwa barabara akienda wengine wanakuja wakiwa warefi. Sasa hiyo ni masomo gani itasomwa?
They also took issue with the reduction of pupils intake at the school and the huge number of pupils being transferred from the school.
Leo tumeamua hawa wakubwa wamekuja wakubwa kutoka huko Kamwagi sub-county ya Gatundu North. Sasa saa hii tunawaambia wachukue mwalimu waende naye juu hatutakubali kuongozwa na mwalimu mkorofi mwenye ni mkora mwenye kukula pesa ya wasasi na kutumia pesa vibaya.
The demonstration saw the pupils remain locked inside classes as police from Kamwangi police station had to be called to calm the furious parents who wanted to lock the school's head office and the school gate. The head teacher and staff were nowhere to be seen as they fled from the irate parents. For Lunchtime News, I'm Opicho Chemtai.
And on matters health, the Africa Center for Disease Control wants a synergy among African Union member states on surveillance of disease outbreaks. This follows a reported outbreak of swine flu in Nakuru County, which has so far claimed one person.
The rise in zoonotic diseases and the resultant virulent viruses afflicting human beings on the continent is being attributed to disruptions in the environment and climate change. The acting director of Africa CDC, Dr. Ahmad Ogwell, is advising member states to increase surveillance and treat any disease outbreak as a potential pandemic.
We are at risk of many more such outbreaks, even though we continue to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. So let us highlight each and every outbreak as a potential pandemic so that we can be able to arrest it quickly and effectively.
Confirming the swine flu outbreak, also known as influenza H1N1 in Nakuru County, Dr. Ogwell said Africa CDC is working with the Kenya government to help contain the spread of the highly contagious virus.
In response, we have deployed a rapid team to support the Ministry of Health in Kenya in ensuring active case search, sample collection, and necessary countermeasures, both at the health facility level and at the community level as well.
Swine flu mainly affects children aged below 1 year, the elderly, and those with underlying health conditions. Symptoms include fever, coughing, sore throat, sneezing, a running nose, chest pain, and fatigue. Judith Akolo, The Lunchtime News.
In other news, the Gema community living in Mombasa County has thrown its weight behind Orange Democratic Movement gubernatorial candidate Abdul Samad Sharif Nasir, led by their chairman Peter Gishamba. They denounced members who had decamped to United Democratic Alliance over the weekend. Former Mombasa Gema chairman Crispus Waithaka led a section of the community in declaring support for UDA gubernatorial candidate Hassan Omar.
Uo mlengo mwingine wajue ya kwamba wameenda kwa ubinafsi. Hawakukonsult leader yote, wao wameenda kwa maslahi yao wenyewe. Lakini jamii ya Gema katika Mombasa County iko na abswama.
Watu wa Mombasa hapa ni watu 10 tu. Na 3 waliondoka. 8 tuko tayari kuendelea na Nasiri na tuna wasiwasi. Masoko yote kama kiongozi masoko kama Kamau. Masoko yote na support Nasiri wote moja kwa moja.
Kwa hivyo msimamo wetu ni huo. Tuko nyuma ya Abdulswamad mpaka saa hii.
Now let's talk business. The fast consignment of fresh avocados from Kenya has hit the Chinese market. This as Kenya aims to export more than 100,000 tons of avocados to China annually in a move aimed at increasing the country's market share for other horticultural produce in the lucrative market. The Kenya Export Promotions and Branding Agency says the move will stimulate an increase in local avocado production, significantly improving producers' capacity in agro-processing.
Kenya exports an average of 80,000 tons of avocados annually, with main markets over the years being countries in the European Union as well as the Middle East. Kenya is aiming to significantly boost those numbers with new markets as horticultural produce demand from China continues to increase. The Kenya Export and Branding Agency says avocado volumes going to China are expected to increase significantly. Small and large-scale avocado farmers are now being urged to take advantage of the new prospects, provided they adhere to phytosanitary standards that are required of them. The export marks the end of close to 5 years of lobbying and high-level consultations on rigorous sanitary and phytosanitary standards.
Now, Absa Bank Kenya made 6.3 billion shillings in net profit during the first 6 months of this year, representing a 13% year-on-year increase driven by accelerated lending. As the economy continued to recover from the COVID-19 disruptions, shareholders will pocket an interim dividend payout of 20 cents per share.
During the first 6 months of this year, Absa Bank Kenya saw its net loans and advances increasing by 19.49% from 218.72 billion shillings to 261.54 billion shillings. In addition, the lender's stock of government securities increased by 16.37% from 77.06 billion shillings to 89.68 billion shillings. This helped Absa Bank Kenya earn 13.35 billion shillings in interest income from loans and advances, as well as 4.55 billion shillings as interest income from government securities. The lender booked 14.43 billion shillings as the net interest income, which in addition to 6.48 billion shillings in total non-interest income, pushed the total operating income to 20.91 billion shillings.
What I think is exciting for us is that, as you can see from the slide here, when we look at the trend, we're accelerating the growth of our revenues. And our revenue base has grown by over 10 billion shillings over the years. And that's largely off not just organic growth, but investments like I indicated in new business streams. And that has brought us to be much more a financial services group rather than just a bank, with our much broader proposition set that I mentioned earlier.
On the other hand, the total operating expenses increased from 9.89 billion shillings to 11.79 billion shillings on account of increased loan loss provision. The lender increased the loan loss provision by 52.16% to 2.96 billion shillings after the gross non-performing loans increased by 7.88% to 19.79 billion shillings.
So remember what I mentioned, the yield curve picking up, the interest rate environment in the country picking up. You'll be able to see that we've managed to contain that changes in cost of funds. So picking up by only 10 basis points from 2.3% 1 year ago to about 2.4% in this financial period.
The lender has proposed an interim dividend payout of 20 cents per share. Nduta Mokami for Lunchtime News.
Egypt's central bank increased the maximum amount of cash customers are allowed to withdraw from their bank accounts and removed restrictions on how much they could deposit entirely. Under a rule put in place in April 2020, the central bank restricted withdrawals to 50,000 Egyptian pounds, equivalent to $2,600, but now will allow withdrawals of up to 150,000 pounds. Here are the details of these and other stories making headlines across the continent.
According to the 2020 rule, the limits were imposed as part of plan to mitigate the coronavirus pandemic. But bankers say the limit helped tamp down the black market in foreign currency by reducing the amount of available cash. The Central Bank of Egypt set the daily limit for cash deposits and withdrawals from the bank branches at 10,000 Egyptian pound for individuals and 50,000 Egyptian pounds for enterprises. With the exception of withdrawals by entrepreneurs for workers' disbursement, the CBE also set a limit of 5,000 Egyptian pound for cash deposits and withdrawals from the ATM machine, which it said it aimed at reducing crowding, particularly during payroll and pension disbursement. A month after the CBE raised the daily limit for cash withdrawals from ATMs to 20,000 Egyptian pound, up from 5,000 Egyptian pound, and from banks to 50,000 Egyptian pounds, up from the 10,000 Egyptian pounds. Elsewhere, Japan is set to promise some 30 billion aid for African development at a conference to be held in Tunisia this weekend. The aid, which will center on developing human resources in order to promote economic growth, will be announced at the Tokyo International Conference on African Development. Other topics will include food security for Africans in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, as well as climate change and the promotion of environmentally friendly businesses. The 8th TICAD is the first since 2019 and the only second held in Africa. It is co-hosted with the United Nations, the World Bank and the African Union Commission. Finally, Niger has deployed rain-making technology aimed at alleviating the effects of drought in the country. The desert country has faced a food crisis for years because of extended dry spells. The induced rain technology involves using aircraft to spray chemical into clouds. The intervention is targeting areas where people farm. Some parts of the country have experienced flooding, further adding to the food crisis. Reporting for Lunchtime News, I'm Terry Njenga.
And over 100 Juakali artisans in Naivasha are crying foul over the grabbing of part of their land by a group they claim are influential traders in the lakeside town. Now, the traders claim that nearly half of the land allocated to them by national government had already been grabbed and turned into residential buildings.
According to one of the artisans, Samuel Ndongo, the illegal allocation of land to unsuspecting buyers was on the rise, and it won't be long before they close business. Another artisan, Eliud Kamau, said the ongoing grabbing of land has seen increased conflicts between tenants and artisans, and they are now pleading with the new county administration to revoke the allocation of land.
Tumekuja sasa tuko barabara. Nikumaanisha tukimalizia hii hao wako mwisho tunaenda barabara. Complaints zetu tukipeleka mahali na tunaambia wale wanaingia kwa serikali tuko na shida, wanakuja hawatatui yote.
Naivasha Juakali Association Chairman John Gunjiri appealed to the new county administration to consider the Juakali sector through the provision of favorable working environment as well as provide access to credit.
Wakati huu Juakali imekuwa imejengwa manyumba za mawe. Mpaka Juakali sasa inaenda kuisha. Sasa sisi mafundi hatuna nafasi. Ni kama tumefukuzwa. Juu hata mahali mtu anagongea unakuja unaambiwa hapa sio kwako, ondoka, nataka kujenga. Inajengwa nyumba ya mawe. Sasa imekuwa kama residential, sio Juakali.
For Lunchtime News, Esther Bodo.
California plans to ban the sale of new petrol-only vehicles from the year 2035, making a historic step in the state's attempts to tackle climate change. The new rules aim to force car makers to accelerate the introduction to the market of cleaner vehicles. Here are the details of these and other stories making headlines across the globe.
The transposition from petrol vehicles to electric vehicles is an important move as California is the most populous state in the U.S. and one of the biggest world economies. Under the rules issued by the California Air Resources Board, 35% of new vehicles sold in the state must be electric, hybrid or hydrogen powered by 2026. The regulations would apply to 68% of vehicle sales by 2030 and 100% by 2035. The new rules still have to be approved by the U.S. government before they can take effect. However, the Alliance for Automotive Innovation, which represents car makers including General Motors, Volkswagen and Toyota, said more is needed to be done to boost demand for electric vehicles. Meanwhile, a household in England, Wales and Scotland using a typical amount of gas and electricity currently pay about £2,000 a year. That annual bill is predicted to soar to more than £3,500, leaving many struggling or unable to pay. Charities and suppliers have urged ministers to improve support measures, which currently include a £400 rebate for all households. A further increase in bills is predicted when the subsequent cap takes effect in January, with a typical bill forecast to peak at well over £5,000 later next year. The UK wholesale gas prices jumped by £82 to £580 per therm, their highest level in 5 months, amid uncertainty about European and Russian supplies. Finally, Japanese wages are unlikely to grow as much as nationwide consumer prices over the coming year. In a sign of further gloom, the world's third largest economy will likely expand at a much weaker pace than previously thought this quarter, as it braces for fallout from a slowdown in the United States, China and Europe. Japan's average wages have hardly risen since the early 1990s and were the lowest among G7 economies last year. According to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, Japan's nominal wages are highly unlikely to outgrow the overall year-on-year inflation rate over the coming 12 months.
Now, China has left out Kenya from the list of African countries that will receive a loan waiver under a plan by the Asian country to help 17 least developed states on the continent burdened by huge loans. Analysts say the elevation of Kenya to the middle-income status has informed the decision by China to overlook Kenya as a beneficiary of those receiving the debt relief.
Kenya's debt crossed the 8 trillion shillings mark, and China is among the leading foreign creditors, followed by World Bank. According to the Central Bank of Kenya, the country's public debt stood at 8.2 trillion shillings as of December last year. China is the biggest external lender to Kenya, accounting for 67% of total external debt, mainly infrastructure financing, including the loan for construction of the standard gauge railway between Mombasa through Nairobi to Naivasha. Kenya owed the third largest amount of money to China in Africa after Angola and Ethiopia. Angola is leading with a debt of $25 billion, which is about 2.9 trillion shillings. Ethiopia followed with 1.6 trillion shillings and Kenya with 946 billion shillings. China has waived debt owed by 17 countries for 23 interest-free loans that were due in 2021, and Kenya is not on the list. China made the announcement during the forum on China-Africa cooperation that seeks to boost ties between China and its African allies. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi said at the forum the debt relief plan demonstrates China's commitment to fostering stronger economic ties with the African continent. China cancelled debt due to interest-free loans worth $113.8 billion that matured in 2020 for 15 African countries, including Botswana, Burundi, Rwanda, Cameroon, the DRC, and Mozambique. Caroline Jenger for Lunchtime News.
In other news, new Kisii Governor Simba Arati has pledged to deal firmly with graft that he says is a major hindrance of devolution not only in Kisii County but throughout the country. Arati, while taking the oath of affirmation, said his government will be universal for every citizen and that acts of nepotism and personal connections will not be condoned. Weekly for Catch with the details of Arati's big day.
Honorable Paul Simba Arati.
The former Dagoretti North Member of Parliament's dream to become Kisii County's second governor came true on Thursday as he took over the reins of power from the outgoing Governor James Ongwae.
It is now my pleasure to give you the instruments of power.
Upon being handed over the instruments of power, including the county's public seal, the constitution and the county's flag, among others, Paul Simba Arati acknowledged the big task ahead.
Apart from ensuring that institutions of learning are equipped with the necessary tools of trade, my administration will also ensure that there is a functioning school feeding program and accessible and transparent bursary fund.
The former governor mwenye ametoka ametua chukumu zake zote kwa gavana ambaye ameingia ni wa pili Simba Paul Arati kwa amani, amempa vitu zote kwa amani. Sasa ambacho ningeomba gavana wetu ambaye ameingia Simba Paul Arati Kisii atufanyie ni shule zetu watoto wasifukuzwe. Pasaris venye amesema watoto wapate pasaris.
Tungependa gavana wetu ajenge factory ya ndizi hapa hivi ambayo itasaidia wakulima, ambayo itasaidia vijana wapate kazi wajiajiri, sababu najua hata chukua vijana wote apeleke kwa ofisi kwenda kuwasajili, wajapokuwa ni ile ajenge factory hapa ya ndizi na migwa, ili vijana wote waingie kwa hiyo section wajiajiri kwa kufanya kazi kwa bidii.
Na nafurahia sana, tulikuwa na kazi mtaani, vijana wetu walikuwa wanapigania wanapata pesa. Sasa watoto wetu wamerudi nje, tunahangaika. Tunaomba Simba Arati, gavana wetu wa Kisii mpya, atupiganie hii kazi yetu irudi na sisi tupate pesa. Tulikuwa tunapata mafuno.
The former legislator made his intent to root out graft, saying personal connections and acts of nepotism will have no place in his administration.
As we extend on olive branch to those willing to walk with us on this journey, we will not hesitate to clench our fist and firmly deal with those who oversee the routing of public resources under their care.
Sectors such as healthcare, agriculture and trade will be Arati administration's cornerstone. Ongwae and other elected leaders pledged support to the new county chief.
Your Excellency, I congratulate you for becoming the second governor of this great county of Kisii. Politics is over. Now we must start running this county.
People have come here because of hope. All the multitudes that you see here are about hope. They want to see change in Kisii. They want to see things flowing. They want to see you doing things extraordinary. They want to see bursaries. They want to see roads. They want to see employment opportunities. Actual employment opportunities, visible ones. And once you do that, trust me, in 2027, you'll have no competition. But if you don't do that, 2027, I'll compete with you and I'll beat you if you don't do that.
Having officially taken over the reins of power in Kisii County, the new Kisii County Governor Paul Simba Arati is promising an all-inclusive government that will be based on the tenets of the Constitution of Kenya. Wycliffe Okech reporting for Channel 1 from Gusii Stadium in Kisii County.
And now on to sports news. A three-time champion Novak Djokovic has withdrawn from US Open, which begins on Monday in United States due to his COVID-19 vaccination status. Djokovic did not defend his Australian Open title in January because of his COVID-19 vaccination status, leading him to being deported from the country since October 2020 when the United States has banned non-vaccinated visitors. Japan will meet Spain in the final of the ongoing FIFA Under-20 Women World Cup being held in Costa Rica after beating Brazil and the Netherlands in the semi-final respectively.
And Japan have the lead. Disappointment for Gabi Barbieri. The net and Brazil have brought themselves level. It's Chris. They're off the line. Japan have the lead back. Extraordinary. They really were caught out there. And Hamano is all. More and more pressure heaped on them, and that is the consequence. And they're playing here. They're looking for goal number 2. Creates the sport. Now that is a stunner. That is. So does the Spanish defence for one.
Germany's Bundesliga side Borussia Dortmund are confident of making it through this season in the European Champions League after being eliminated in the group stage last season. Dortmund has been pooled in Group G alongside Manchester City, Sevilla, Borussia Dortmund and FC Copenhagen following last night's draw.
Holders Real Madrid will take RB Leipzig, Shakhtar Donetsk and Celtic in Champions League group stage, while Barcelona will face Bayern Munich and Inter Milan. Real captured a record extending 14th European crown when they beat Liverpool in last season's final, and on paper, Carlo Ancelotti's side should have few problems in making the last 16 from Group F. Barcelona striker Robert Lewandowski will take on his former side in the group stage after the 5-time champions were drawn with Bayern in Group C along with Inter and Victoria Plzen. Qatari-owned Paris Saint-Germain begin their quest for a maiden trophy in Europe's elite club competition in a tricky Group H with Juventus, Benfica and Maccabi Haifa. Matches will take place between 6th of September and 2nd of November, with the final to be played at Atatürk Olympic Stadium in Istanbul, Turkey on the 10th of June next year. Frederick Olwete.
Well, that report brings us to the end of our bulletin this afternoon. Thank you for choosing Lunchtime News. My name is Jackie Wambiru. Sign language interpreter is Anwan Geshi. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Kupata skiza tune ya mambo mema, dial star 811 star 815 hash.
Mambo mema huwaendea watu wanaosubiri, ila mambo mema zaidi huwaendea watu wanaoyatafuta. Kupata mambo mema ni kufanikiwa, na kufanikiwa ni kutabasamu, kutafakari na kuhesabu mema na baraka ulizozichukulia hatua, ukazitafuta na kuzipata. Amka, tafuta ufanisi wako.
Kupata skiza tune ya mambo mema, dial star 811 star 815 hash. Star 811 star 815 hash.
Hello there. Good boys gone bad. Eric Omondi has evolved from being a comedian to now being the king clout chaser.
How does a gospel artist make money?
Jaguar wept again.
As a celeb, as a followers, but it's a time for artists to make bank.
Yes. How is your relationship with Zari, considering that she dates young?
These are accessories.
They
get out,
slap the guy.
Yo, what's up? My name is Ted Josiah.
Mashallah.
You sing about serious issues, it will not trend. If you sing about Avocado,
no. Bahati hata kuwa na machozi. Willy Paul ndo alikuwa anatoa machozi. For your beat these boys with stones. Let's all be logic. Yesu washukangi chini analeta pesa.
Musicians are missing the point.
Do we sip water?
You are watching Pop Culture with Adhiambo with a Y.
Sometimes I wish I never left. Probably J&J would be at a better place right now.
And you were not really there when we needed a mother.
Kuna kitu inaitwa doto za mushana na dreams. So, jua kutofautisha.
Ukitaka kumake money on a side apart from this job, punguza mdomo.
Kunyamaza pia inakuwa ni gharama sana.
Unajua kuongea lugha ya pesa.
I'm planning to call a board meeting. She has already reached. Okay, let me look at the forms, then I'll get them to you via email.
How would you like working with us?
I'm not quite sure how that would work.
We are on the same side.
We're gonna need Millicent on our side.
Watu ni wakukuliwa. Na ni wakukuliwa kabisa.
Mheshimiwa, my foot. Mlipigia nani kura?
Kidengdeng kishapita, sisi mayuti tuko wera. Lakini nyinyi ndo mmefanya tusingie rawe. Naweza kuwa naongea uaganizi.
Mstari ya 5, mlango ya 2, dirisha ya 3, tukienda kwa corridor. Inasema love ole munoma as you love myself. Mbona wewe hujapenda mimi?
Ati?
Rada njegul.
Wewe uliza swali itaeleweka hapa.
Nasemaje? Wewe ukimwokala sapale ulipata kila mtu wako kwa kingwarwar. Sawa?
Wewe,
hiyo ni ufala last.
Wewe, unaelewa hiyo lugha?
Na tunaelewana mheshimiwa.
Life on Earth, from ecosystems to human civilization, is vulnerable to a changing climate. Scientific evidence now shows that the current human-caused global warming of 1.1 degrees Celsius is increasingly impacting nature and people's lives everywhere, despite efforts to adapt to the changing climate. More frequent and severe climate extreme events, such as heat waves over land and in the ocean, droughts and flooding, have caused widespread and pervasive impacts to ecosystems, people, cities and infrastructure, and limit the chances of a livable future for all. There is new knowledge that human-induced climate change caused these destructive impacts or makes them more likely.
Climate change has increased the frequency and magnitude of extreme weather events in Kenya, causing loss of lives, diminished livelihoods, reduced crop and livestock production, and damaged infrastructure, among other adverse impacts. An example is the torrential rains and severe flooding from March to May 2018 that devastated communities that were already struggling to recover from a prolonged drought. Climate change is likely to negatively impact Kenya's future development and achievement of the goals of Kenya Vision 2030, the long-term development blueprint. Kenya text of the Climate Change Act, number 11 of 2016. This act requires the government to develop 5-year national climate change action plans NCCAP to guide the mainstreaming of adaptation and mitigation actions into sector functions of the national and county governments. National Climate Change Action Plans 2018 to 2022 aims to further Kenya's development goals by providing mechanisms and measures to achieve low-carbon climate-resilient development in a manner that prioritizes adaptation. Kenya is an equatorial county in